Okada is in AEW. So, when I heard Okada had left New Japan, it was a shocking moment for many because they couldn't imagine Okada, the man who helped bring New Japan to bigger prominence than they ever been. Hiroshi Tanahashi saved New Japan in the Dark Age, and Okada brought them up to the Golden Age. And as New Japan is currently experiencing post-pandemic issues in this post-COVID world, okay, post-COVID according to some, Okada and a lot of other prominent talent were leaving New Japan in droves, and there were talks that Okada was like, I'm interested in WWE, I'll hear them out at least. And WWE months in advance knew Okada's contract was coming up, but they knew they had to make an incentive to it, so they pushed Nakamura to give the vibe that, see, we're not secretly bigoted idiots who think all Japanese wrestlers always fail or stereotyped or think they hate America. Even though Vince clearly thought that. Because he's from that period of human history that we don't like to talk about, and he was born a month or so before it all ended. In the worst way possible. But, enough about history and the ramifications from those days and what they probably did to the psychological effects to people in the postmodern world that we live in. Okada leaving New Japan was a shocker when New Japan just announced it, like, he's out, he's leaving. And he went out, and they went out swinging with him, and cool on that. And right before that, Will Ospreay had left, so their big investment they were planning for their westward expansion in other areas left, so he's out. Jay White was already gone at this point, and now they were losing Okada. And of course, people were going and making conspiracies because, of course, and by conspiracies I mean the absolute ludicrous extremist belief you can go with, because you could just go ahead and say the conspiracy is that Tony Khan is trying to act like Vince McMahon in some ways regarding partnering up with people, then burning them to the ground afterwards, which Vince has done in the past, especially with Triple H with Evolve and the UK scene, and look how that worked out. But no, instead they wanted to go up the ante. Instead of just going with the normal, logical, what could be making sense route, they went to the extreme route. They went to the, he controls the economic factors of Japan and all the money that is kind of collapsing. So New Japan's company, Bushiroad, cannot afford these people like they used to, so they have to lock in the younger talent and have to say goodbye to the old because they want more money. And this was kind of a win-win for them on their end because New Japan and AEW are still partners, and therefore they could get a cut cost and still use the services of Okada, Ospreay, White if the situation calls for it. Jay White's still, quote, banned in continuity sense because of Eddie Kingston here, but yeah. So over the next few weeks, Ospreay made his full-time AEW debut fighting Konosuke Takeshita, and that was awesome. Then the week after, Okada arrives and joins the Young Bucks. I'll get to that. And then a week later after that, Mercedes Moné comes in. And it's just like, oh god. But yeah. And I was hearing stories that WWE wasn't even like trying, so to speak, with Okada. They just were like, we're WWE. We have WrestleMania. That's all the reason you need to sign with us. And I was like, you realize that's not going to work anymore, right? Like, unless everyone suddenly went bankrupt, that's not going to work these days. Yes, WrestleMania still has its value, but that can't just be the only incentive, right? You have more, right? No? Not even the big billions of dollars you have sitting in your vault? You're saving that for Drew, hopefully. At least he's doing something. But, yeah, Okada would come to AEW, align with the Bucks, and fully turning heel. And my thought process was several things. One, I'll commend them for the risk, because you would think they would just have Okada come in and continue doing the Rainmaker stuff, because that's what made him popular in Japan. I'll commend them for taking the big gamble and wanting to have Okada be a heel coming in, even though American fans are used to Okada, not just during his time in New Japan, but also because he had shown up in AEW during the partnership process, especially with Forbidden Door coming around. So I'll commend them for that. They managed to make the audience get used to Okada, and then they just were like, now let's go with the, what if Okada was a villain for the hundreds of fanfiction writers that wish they could do that in New Japan? Let's act them all out, shall we? And he's aligned with the Young Bucks. Now, thought on that. So the Young Bucks have been doing this rebirth of their characters by being the Young Bucks to being Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, and being snooty, a secessionist businessmen, abusing their power and all that. And people were like, awesome, why didn't you do this when you know who, and why the hell are you doing it now that he's just happened to be gone and in the other place? Like, that's the thing. If, oh god, like, there is still huge money on that table. I'm still gonna say that, and it's probably why after all this, it's just, oh god. And associating Okada with the poison that Matthew and Nicholas Jackson have become nowadays for fans, with after everything that happened the last 2 years. It's certainly a thing. Is it bad? Is it good? I don't know. But it's a thing. And long and behold, Okada is now a heel with the business bucks, as I call them. I'm surprised they haven't went with that yet, even with their secession theme music, which is awesome. Yeah, that music is awesome. But yeah, so yeah, Okada starts a feud with Eddie Kingston on the first night in. He comes in, looks like he's gonna save the day, be his classic squeaky clean babyface belt with legs, Okada, only to turn heel and align with the Young Bucks and beat the living hell out of Eddie Kingston. Then he would pin Eddie Kingston in a 6-man tag team match, which grants him a title opportunity. Now, naturally, that would piss me off, because it does. But AEW does it so rarely, and they actually emphasize the dramaticness of it all. Whereas in the other place, they would just, you're getting a title shot because I pinned the guy? Yep. Like, are we going to make a big deal out of this? Are we going to try and give the gravitas of it all? Nope. Unless it's Roman. Okay. So, yeah, that's the thing. Now, when I heard this was going to happen that week, I was begrudgingly sad because I would be at work, and they would probably have that be the opening matchup and have the main event be Edge versus Christian. I know he's using his real name, but I keep calling him Edge because that's how my mind goes. Even though he could just go ahead and make a shirt called Cove Seed and Mall regarding the whole insanity that happened the moment he stepped foot in AEW, because doing that was considered sacrilegious and multiple dissertations, and explaining how him doing this is the antithesis of what WWE stands for. As if WWE has not done that to offering people that money and telling them to don't go to the shows and then come to us. The UKC still hasn't recovered from that incident. Anyways, so Eddie Kingston would defend the AEW Continental Championship against Kazuchika Okada on AEW Dynamite. Oh, God. And also, they brought back the rankings, so so that's a legitimate grievance people had with it. Then they disappeared, and then they brought them back again. Yeah, I don't know what's going on that front, but now you could make the argument Okada's track record in Japan kind of speaks for itself, so you could have that conversation. We can have that discussion. So I get it on some level that they could use Okada's past in New Japan as a continuity build-up and add it to the rankings. That would automatically mean that he gets the world title opportunity. And as much as I loved it to see Okada versus Samoa Joe, let's not rush this man. We got a run to go with. So Eddie Kingston defends the Continental Championship, and people were having this up and up about it, like, wait, does that mean if he loses this match, then he loses all the titles, or does he just lose the Continental belt? And here's the thing, for those who have not watched AEW, no, there's an option thing they put in during the Continental Classic when they decided to alter Eddie Kingston's own declarative statement where he says he will put the title on the line every single match. He then was told, no, we're not doing that because you have to lose some matches here, dude. So Eddie Kingston could defend all 3 belts at once or defend them separately. So that was the rule, that was the establishment, and they established that whoever wins the belts can defend it all at once or separately during the Continental Classic tournament. So that's all clear. They acknowledged that, they established that ruling. So for anyone who doesn't get it, okay. So this would be for the Continental Classic. Eddie Kingston would still be the Ring of Honor and New Japan Strong Champion in the event that he lost his belt. Spoiler alert, he did. And long and behold, Okada and Eddie Kingston had a pretty decent match. It was pretty good. Okada doesn't feel restrained in his areas. And I love how they keep the tradition of the Continental Classic by pointing out, yes, you have to obey the rules of the Continental Belt, or you will be disqualified. So no help, no backup, no dirty tricks. This is going to be a one-on-one clean fight. Unless it's poking vibes, but there wasn't. So Eddie Kingston and Okada went and had their match. Pretty solid bout. Okada looking like he's having fun. I'll get to that in a little bit. And stuns the world, defeating the Mad King with the Rainmaker. And winning the Continental Belt after a pretty impressive showing from Eddie Kingston. I was curious how New Japan did not bank on doing this match in their place before all this. It would have been gangbuster money right there. Oh man. Now, personally, with heading into Dynasty, I was a little surprised they did this so early, considering they could have just saved this for Dynasty, and with how Dynasty is looking like prestige, royale, and prosperous content. I'm surprised they just went with it. Okada winning the belt is interesting, though here's the thing, this is going to be a comment I have for the Continental belt as a concept. You have the Continental belt, and you have the International belt. So are we going to do a unification match for that title down the road, with those 2 titles down the road, and make the Intercontinental belt? Come on, like, the answer is clearly right there. You could just make that. Like, I'll be all for it, because I seriously do not want to do another whole Crisis of Infinite World Championships running around again. WWE's already doing that. I don't need more, okay? And since you keep sharing with the rest of the industry, that's going to be a lot of belts that keep track for one guy. But yeah, Okada wins the belt. The Young Bucks celebrate in the back with Tony Khan. I just like how Tony Khan's just there, even though they acknowledge he's the owner and whatnot. They don't make him a full-on character, which is commendable because anyone would be tempted to do that. I can't think of anyone who would be pissed off if someone pointed out that that the evil authority figure or the authority figure at all would be oversaturated. Don't worry, the guy's podcast is over, according to his buddy, to his cohort. Yeah. But yeah. So, Eddie Kingston is no longer the champion, so his confidence has got to be shaken. Okada, celebrating with the belt, notices fireworks going off, pyro, and he's turning around like, wait, I have pyro? This is a thing? I don't know. I have not followed Okada until the Kenny Omega match happened, but I was like, you're kidding me, right? Oh god, I just liked how stunned he was seeing the pyro go off for him, and being on like genuine confusion from his body language. Like, you don't see his face in the shot, but you can tell he's absolutely confused at what's going on, and it's funny. It's hilarious. Oh god. And this is and here's the thing. I'm giving all these props to Okada, and I'm going to say it. This is something he has desperately needed after he went back to being the Rainmaker, the Rainmaker of New Japan. Because, oh god, this has been a criticism I've had of Okada for years. Someone described it best when they did YouTube content. They said Okada looked more like a belt on feet. A living walking belt, because his character was defined by the New Japan Pro Wrestling Championship and what else. And when he lost it, that gave a good run. He was more interesting. He went crazy. He went ballistic. He kind of got animated at times with his personality and his expressions. He was being a character. And then he went back to being the Rainmaker with the trunks, and I'm just like, oh god, can you at least maintain your character? You can have both worlds. But no, he just went back to being the walking belt. It's that weird situation, like that old phrase, the guy makes the title, the child doesn't make the guy. But it's like it was both at once for him. Like, he was in this push and pull for me with him in the belt, because it's like one minute he's Okada and then he's just a living walking belt. Like, the only way you can be more obvious of the subtlety of this is paint him gold and slap the IWGP logo on his forehead. That would have been more sledgehammer inducing. And when Okada was starting to show personality after what seemed to be a legit shoot during a show with one of the other Japanese company's top stars, I forgot the whole scenario, where he got angry and legitimately pissed and went with F around and find out, only for the guy to come back and say, found out, fight back. And Okada looking legitimately upset. It's like, oh my god, you're giving him a personality. Oh my god. This is a miracle. Can we get these two to fight? And then Okada breaks into Pro Wrestling Noah and beats the crap out of the guy. And it's like, oh no, Okada, you're running dangerously close to the level of interest. And then he went back, went to his comfort zone, and then he left, and now he's showing personality again. It's like, yes, this has been so welcoming to see him have this character showcasing. It's so refreshing. Him getting the Continental Championship is just the cherry on top of this. It's just so exciting to see Okada get to showcase more of his personality, showcase a heel Okada, and showcase what he can be, what he can do beyond just being the Rainmaker, and have his big dramatic pose with the camera. Like, I'll always appreciate what the Rainmaker persona of Okada was, but this Okada is more interesting than I've been interested in him since he was feuding with Jay White when he was in his wacky personality state, where he couldn't imagine, like, I don't have the belt. I've had the belt for over 720 days. I can't imagine. There's no belt around my waist. I can't imagine the madness. Like, I sincerely hope they do that with Roman. I sincerely hope they do. That's money right there to have a Roman just psionicsally break down as time goes on, realizing after over 4 years holding that belt, he doesn't have it anymore, and therefore he's going loco. More so. But yeah, Okada, you're going to have a hell of a run here. I look forward to seeing what he brings to the table in AEW. Eddie Kingston, you were a hell of a good Continental Champion, and your run has been great. We'll see what you do next. But you're going to be wrestling Ring of Honor for a little bit since he is the world champion. And he's probably going to go back to New Japan to defend the strong belt. Oh, man. Also, I think he's fighting Mark Briscoe for the ROH World Title, so I look forward to that. Oh yeah, this is gonna be an exciting time. I wonder how long Okada's gonna have the Continental belt. Will they try to replicate the 720-day run? Make Okada just be an awesome badass while being hilarious in his character and having a character with it, and basically trying to do a subtle shot to Japan and New Japan Pro Wrestling in particular, saying, "See, this is a personality. Why couldn't you let Okada keep it?" But okay, enough about my criticisms about how New Japan and Okada and all that worked. It's gonna be a wild ride. I'm just gonna love it. So, this was your host, Eric Brown of NRE The WrestleVerse of Neo Reality Antenna. For free like, comment, subscribe, check out another content in the description below. Stay tuned for more. I'll see you all again next time. Peace and take care, and keep on wrestling.